Hi, hello everyone. Right, this is an ad hoc live session that I've came in to just chat with all of you. If you're able to join me, right, just say hello. If not, then I hope you're able to catch this on the replay. Okay, and for the rest of the Chinese, a happy sub gourmet for you to enjoy your dinner tonight with your family, right? So today I wanted to speak a little bit about because I think on the ground we're all very concerned, is there going to be possible new measures in the market? So there's a lot of speculations. So some of us are jumping into the bandwagon. We are worried that if the new measures happen, then how are they able to continue to buy, or is it going to be more difficult to own a private property in Singapore? Okay, so before I go into what is in the rumors out there, because there's nothing announced yet, I was thinking it could be announced during the budget, right? But nothing was announced. It was more towards how we're going to combat COVID-19, right? And then all the other help they can give to corporations. I think this is very good, very good. So before I go into that, okay, I hope you guys can hear me clearly. If you cannot hear me clearly, please just shout out and I just change it into my Bluetooth, right? Then yes, good afternoon to all of you. Now, um, let me just share with you my screen. I want to just go through with you very quickly what we are facing now in terms of its measures, what is its already its impact, and what is might happen in future. Okay. Um, Now, how do I do a full screen? Right, slideshow. Okay, so these are the present cooling measures we have already experienced all the way from the start of 2010. I am not going to go into the seller stamp duty. I think it's something that a lot of us have already factored that into consideration, right? What we're looking at today will be more of, I separate the two parts. One is the upfront payment that is actually affected by all buyers, right? Okay, why is this important? Because when you buy a property and you need to sell, you also have to know what are the limitations and the obstacles that the buyers are going to face. You're going to have a hard time selling, isn't it? Right? So stamp duties has been changed already since 2018. And at the same time, they have also increased for residential properties, an additional 1% for any values in excess of $1 million. So that's quite straightforward, right? And the next thing they need some adjustment is the loan to value. I'll show you a few tables later. Loan to value, if you bought a property prior to the July 2018, you're able to enjoy a leverage of 80%. Does that make sense? But now there is more cash upfront into your equity, of which you can only borrow 75%. Okay. And of course, the biggest hit that really changed the entire market back in 2013, end of 2013, when it actually announced the MSR and TDSR. Now, what is MSR and what is TDSR? This is a very important element because it affects not just individuals, but it also affects a lot of self-employed, right? People that run their own business, especially if you have not been declaring your income properly, okay? This affects you because you need to borrow money to buy a property, all right? And therefore, they actually collate everything in terms of individual. If what is your running current debts every month, and they fix it for MSR. This is MSR only relates to HDB properties and also relates to ECs, right? TDSR is for all private properties. Okay, so different type of calculation. You're talking about residential, they use a 3.5 risk factor for interest to calculate your loan, and then they do a reverse calculation, right? But if you're going for a commercial industrial, that percentage changes to 4.5%. Okay, and if currently you do own a what do you call that, a commercial or industrial property under your own name, right, and you want to buy a residential you haven't bought yet, it's going to affect your borrowing power. Okay, therefore, if for commercial properties, it's always better to buy another company so that you freeze off a TDSR. For TDSR, I think most of you would know. I'm just skipping this as fast as possible, right, because I think this is already Googleable and all of you would know all these measures by now. It is 60% of your income for TDSR, and for MSR, it is 30%, right? Okay, now, so let's go to the table. It's very straightforward. This is a effect from July 2018. So if you remember that date, that was where everyone was queuing up at show flats, right, before they kick in the new measures. Okay, so for Singaporean first, basically for the first property, you pay the standard 3%. All right. So the 3% is not included here, it's just a standard 3%. If you want to own a second property under your name, all right, as long as you even own a single percent in the property and your name is in the property, you have to pay 12 plus 12 plus 3, right? So 15%. And if it's going to be your third property, it will be 15 plus 3, all right? This will be your upfront payment. And for the PRs, all right, or PR friends, it will be 5, 15, 15. And for foreigners, it will be 20% flat. And in the past, you realize many companies or rather entities does own residential properties, but today the taxes is really very high. But you can also imagine that basically upfront payments is just one of the components to consider. To me, I'm more concerned about the loan because a lot of us buy properties using loan. The mass majority of us, all right, unless you pay off full in cash or you have the habit of buying properties and only taking a 50% loan, then that doesn't really happen to you. All right, this doesn't really affect you rather. All right, so this is quite straightforward. Yeah. So yeah, just to add on, buying your first property is very important. Don't make a mistake because if not, you're going to get stuck in this property for a longer time. Okay. Right. Now, loan to value, again, this is straightforward. It goes into the columns of first, second, and third home property. Right. Anybody responding right now? You can hear me clearly, yeah? Okay. All right. Now, you realize under the loan tenure for Singapore, at least we measure two ways, right? Either up to 30 years or up to 35 years, taking ages of 65 and beyond 65. So these two elements are very important, all right? So for anyone who's buying their first property, all right, it's not an issue. It's very simple. You can enjoy up to, you can see over here, 75%. Okay, but if you are looking to borrow beyond age 65, all right, to 75, but within 35 years, okay, plus minus, okay, you can only borrow up to 55%, and of course your upfront cash will be higher, double the amount of 5%. All right. So, but in total, what does it mean? It means to say that 10% cash, you bring it up to 65, and a balance of 35 can be in CPF, if not also in cash. Right. This is a loan to value. So this is one of the changes they brought down, right? And previously, this amount used to be 60, it has dropped down by 5%. And then again, now, the main challenge is always going up to the second property loan. All right, the second property loan is very challenging because immediately, if you wanted to enjoy that 65 years of age mark, right, you have to, you can only borrow rather 45%, and upfront cash will be 25%. There is a separate calculation on how much you can use in your CPF because you have to then hit, regardless of your age, that year's minimum sum. All right. If you hit that anything above and beyond, you can use it for your next property. If not, then all will be cash. Okay. So already presently, this is a struggle. Therefore, you can see many of us Singaporeans today are now selling off our HDB and buying two properties so that we are able to fall in this blue color column. Make sense? All right. And if you have concern today when you're telling me, hey, Darren, if it's so difficult to find a place to rent for a long term, many of us are being chased out of the house. Okay, this is not relevant today, seriously, because today, if anyone owns 3, 4, or 5 residential properties, they are definitely not looking to sell the property. If not, they can never buy again. Okay, so that you can be rest assured. So this is one of the measures that is also there. Now, if you have any questions, right? If you're looking at this in a replay, please post in the comments and I will reply as soon as I can. Okay. Now, what is then the future possible measures that we are all speculating about right now? I'm going to show you today a write-up on the 8th of February. I didn't do this earlier because I was waiting for the budget to be released. All right, so this has been released on the 8th of February. Okay, right, very famous. This is for the Business Times. All right, it actually tells you what are the possible is it suggestions or the possible things that may be happening in the market for this year at least. They are speculating that this might happen or it might not, right? So now let's go to the first one, extension of the minimum occupation period. Okay, you can read this on your own. Okay, but to me, this is something that I think it could really happen in the HDB sector, especially for those units at Keppel Club area. There's going to be HDB properties over there, and they didn't want a repeat of Dawson, of Pinnacle, right, and of the Pig, okay, and even at Boon Keng area. I think a lot of Singaporeans are very upset because HDB keeps repeating that HDB is meant to be for own stay and not to be speculating, right? But the thing is that a lot of Singaporeans who are not eligible for BTO at the time, even if they are of $100 or $1,000, they are not eligible for BTO. They didn't. They were not able to enjoy that capital appreciation for HDB. If you compare side by side HDB and private, to be honest, in the past, a BTO gets you really good returns already. All right, you don't have to get a private property. And of course, if you're smart enough, you sell it off, you reinvest in private property, you make more than double or triple that amount. All right, but as of today, BTOs, I think extension will really make a lot of sense if to me, if in my opinion, right? So everything that I'm sticking today is just my opinion. I might be right, I might be wrong. I'm just trying to think from a functional policy point of view, what might or might not happen in the future, right? Extension of MOP makes sense, I think, to control, kind of cool off the market, especially for HDB sectors, right? If you know today, HDB are overpriced, in my opinion, right? Properties, all properties, in fact, I just had a friend buy a property in Bedok area. That place predominantly was actually transacting below $300,000, right? Now they have actually paid COV for the property. All property left about 52 or 54 years, right? The 400 plus series in Bedok area is really expensive. For old property, they still have to add in a lot of works for renovation, all right? And they still paid 15,000 COV for the property. And therefore, I think they should be looking a lot into the HDB market, because if you compare side by side last year performance for the HDB market and the private market, HDB actually increased more. Okay, all right. Those who know on the ground, you will know you are starting buying, right? So obviously, many people are very unhappy about it, because if I would buy a BTO, um, I wait for the building, right? The time to build, and then my MOP only starts thereafter. How old am I going to be? Okay, before I'm able to purchase another property. So I think they're going to toy with the either with the timing, with the pricing, with the subsidies, something along that line. I think it would happen, right? Now, this is a bit interesting because I was quite surprised why this was out. They imposed a minimum size for each dwelling unit. I think a lot of us have forgotten, but uh, this has already been implemented back in 2018, somewhere in October. I'll just show you a quick article on that. Not article, something I did on my own. This has changed where they changed where there were a lot of mega en bloc, right? They're so concerned about the LTA, too many vehicles, road congestions. Okay, so this is what they're all concerned about, and therefore they said they actually reduce how they divide the units, the maximum dwelling units within a project. Instead of previously 75, where they can build more, now they change to 85. All right. Now, where can we see this? This will be here. Okay. All right. You guys can see this, right? Yeah. Just checking on my online now. Enter full screen. Okay. Um, just hang on, guys. I'm not very good in all this IT stuff. Oops. Okay, so I wanted to have a presentation view, right? Okay, never mind. Let's just work on this, okay? So this has been changed already, okay, by 85. Or previously it's not 75, it's 70 square meters, right? It means that, okay, what does this mean moving forward, okay? If I give you a quick example, it means that if I use this example of 8 St. Thomas, right? 8 St. Thomas at that time, based on the GFA, the old guideline, they're able to build, if they use 70 square meters, 370 units. They wanted to build to the maximum, all right? They have small units and so forth, with the balconies and so forth, right? With a new guideline, you realize that they can only build lesser units. So if you realize in the later launches, late last year and even this year, all the one bedroom units are actually bigger, and the two bedrooms, the three bedrooms are all very bigger, and the penthouses are even much bigger, right? It's because they actually have to have the average of 85 square meters for all the units, right? So if they were to shrink down at a time, because if the units are bigger in size, it's going to cost more for you to buy in future. And this is true. You can see some of the one bedrooms are really much bigger today. Okay. Now, but a lot of us has forgotten that there are some um, places, and they have cut out the zoning for these various places in Singapore, whereby it is not the 70 or 85. It's very special. All right. It's 100 square meters. Okay. And these are the few areas that they have looked at. All right. Um, in the central region, this whole area, there's no change like that. Okay. I think the change to presenter view now. Huh? All right, guys. Play slideshow. Okay. Right. Okay. Is it changing on my screen? All right, it is. Okay. Right. There's nothing changed over here. Now this is some places with 100 square meters, right? Meaning to say that the units right now are going to be much bigger in these areas. So what is so important about this particular zoning? It would mean that if today, if you're looking to buy an old place in this East Coast area, okay? If you want to buy Mandarin Gardens, for example, Laguna Park, Lagoon View, okay, this has been a crazy area. Many people have been trying to unblock, even Neptune Court for the longest time, all right, or even Fernview Towers. Do note that they are regulated with this special regulation of 100 square meters. It will mean that I do not think the developer will give a very good offer, unlike previously, because now they can build smaller units. All right, I think you still make some money, but not a lot, lah, right? Next area is at Juchet, Mountbatten area. This whole place is also zoned out to be regulated with 100 square meters, right? This is, if you know, this is Cape Road area near Katong Park, Tanjong Katong, Marine Parade, the new Brown Line. Another area is at the Telok Kurau. Telok Kurau is a mixed development area, right? You have mixed residential, right? You have small condominiums, you have landed properties in this area, right? And then you have the Balestier area. Okay, so these are some of the areas that at least you guys are familiar with. You're going to buy something over there, and if someone tells you, oh, this is going to be a very good future en bloc, be aware at least that this is smack with the 100 square meters regulation, right? Okay, Stevens area and Newton area, okay, not the entire Newton, just this area that I cut out, yeah. And then this is at West Coast area, Haw Villa area, all right. This is near the Pasir Panjang, yeah. And this is the Kovan Haoshan area, right? So quite a few areas in Singapore, right? Adam Road, Shawford area, and I think that's about it already in the Loyang area. All right. So they do have this already happening as a regulation. So I'm not so sure why this was being brought up. Okay. Let's go back to the article. I don't know why this is being brought up. Okay, but then again, I've shared with some of you that moving forward, to be honest, PSF might not be a great variable next time, because if you understand the reverse of the borrowing factor, right? All right, it will be more of affordability in terms of quantum. Okay, so I don't know how they're going to weigh on this and to change the land bits, right? So I'm not very optimistic for this at this point in time. Now, this is interesting. When I read this, right, it took me a while. I was just, you know, digesting this, to impose a capital tax gains or increase the additional buyer stamp duty. I think the stamp duty is already very high. To get someone to pay 12% to buy for a Singaporean is really not easy. I think a lot of us are not even doing that. We rather just sell our property and buy a better property, and we need to save 12%, right? Okay. Foreigners are still coming in, okay, but of course they buy Singapore properties with a different objective altogether. For PRs, I think 5% is still able to stomach, all right? But to buy a next property is not something that they want. Therefore, a lot of plannings today, we are all looking to buy two properties instead, so that we're able to enjoy the first sets of rules, right? Instead of being punished for the second tax rate. All right. So, but if you talk about capital tax gains, I'm very wary about this because it is the total fundamentals of partial property method, right? That I really like capital gains, and this is one of the main reason why I enter into the property market, because the capital gains there is no tax. Okay, even if you're talking beyond the 3 years of the SSD period. Okay, and I think if they were to tax capital gains, right? My personal view is that if they were to tax capital gains for the private sector, I think prices will go up because as a seller, I will build that in for profits, and therefore supply will shrink if a lot of them cannot sell. All right. So this is just my thinking. But I think it is possible that they might have a capital gains tax on the HDB housing. All right. I say this because it doesn't affect foreign investment in regards to the private sector. Foreigners can still buy. They're not concerned about the capital gains tax, right? PRs will still buy. Singapore will still buy. That's fine. And for HDB, you realize that it's predominantly for own stay, and it is mainly for Singaporeans and PRs after 3 years. And therefore, to regulate and to keep housing affordable for Singaporeans, we pride ourselves to have a property, right? At least for HDB, they might put this and recommend this, but I don't know how they are going to manage it because we use our CPF to make the payments. Therefore, how do you charge capital gains tax if you're already in a negative sale, right? So it's either they are going to use your purchase price and your selling price, and then they deduct more from the CPF. So I think it's something is going to be a bit more touchy, right? But I think if they were to introduce this to the HDB market, I'm actually for it. Okay, I don't know about you, but I think it is good. Okay, to cool down the HDB market, right? I think it's something that a lot of us wants to own and live there at least. So I do not think they should be profiting a lot from it, okay? Right? So okay, so this is something that I just think that it might happen. Now lowering LTV, right? Okay, that's good. But this part, lowering LTV makes sense. Okay, I'm also for it. In fact, I've told a few of you, I would rather they reverse it, right? They will throw the entire, they can move the ABSD from 12% back to 7%, but the difference of 5%, they put it into the LTV, and now you can only borrow at 70%. It makes sense. You realize that in many places in Asia at least, when you buy a property, you do not enjoy like what we have last time, 80% loan, right? The financing is much lesser, 60%, 50%, it was actually quite okay. But obviously, maybe because those properties are of a much lower quantum, all right? Or maybe as a foreign, I'm not so sure about that. But I think to to manage that so that all of us, because of the low interest rates, right? For us to borrow a smaller amount, yes, we do have a smaller ROI, but I think in the long run, it will help the Singapore real estate market to be the landlords or the owners will have more holding power. Can you imagine if we had this back in the day and we could only borrow 60% or 50%? I think a lot of us will be in a very good position today, correct? We have a lot of, we enjoy a lot of the first pot of gold, right? We can get a lot of cash on cash based on your rental returns. It will keep us very healthy. You don't worry about the loans and the installments, okay? But because when we have a high leverage at the time and a lot of the rental market is being affected, the rental drops, we are then struggling to make payments. And if your jobs are affected, it's a double whammy, and then we just sell it at a loss. So I think lowering down of the LTV could be expected. All right. Therefore, please save, keep as much money as you can. All right. This is very important. It helps you in two ways. If there's this new measure, I personally welcome it because it's not a tax. It goes back to the equity. All right. And second, if your income is not that high with cash, you can actually have a better leverage. Okay. Right. So this is something that I hope might happen. I think it's good. Now, this is going to be a problem if they were to further reduce the TDSR. All right, what's going to happen if they do a reduction of LTV and they also introduce, instead of now a 60% TDSR, if they were to just reverse it by 5 or 10%, it's going to affect a lot of people's borrowing power. All right, and therefore it will affect high-end market. Anything in excess of 2 million and onwards is going to be very heavy. Okay, okay? Yeah, so I'm hoping that they do not touch the TDSI and MSI. MSI, if they shorten it, I don't think who can buy HDB already, right? It's going to be very, very difficult, right? But TDSR, I hope they don't change that and they just change the LTV. If they really do change the TDSI and LTV, yes, it's going to affect the market, not in a very positive way, all right? This is not that important to me at this point in time. Okay, this is interesting to regulate the agents' commission. I think after this article, they had some more articles whereby there was more improvement of market transparency. I'm all for this, all right? If this happens, well and good. Yeah, how much the agents are being remunerated is fine. You guys can know. I think it's something they've introduced in the insurance industry, right? So we know whether, I mean, this is like a kind of deterrence, right? You know whether your agent that is working for you is giving you good advice, or they're just selling you to get a quick buck. Okay, I say this because back in 2017, when both companies combined, we were given the opportunity to sell this project called Newton 26, right? 26 Newton. This place, they were actually enticing agents. Can you imagine anyone that bought Newton 26 at the time, back in 2017, 2018, 2019, they were giving commissions from 7 to 10%. All right. So every single transaction, the agents are all very happy, very high commission. But I think it'd be a bit different if, let's say, the consumers ask and they know that, hey, you're actually making 7%. They might be thinking, why are you recommending this instead of something else at a lower percentage? Okay, and then agent then has to be a bit more educated and know how to propose in a better way. If not, they'll just smoke their way through. Okay, so this is something which I think is really good. But if you tell me it may curb the practice of agents offering kickbacks to buyers because of their high commission of 10%, in practice, I don't think so lah. Okay, I think if the consumer will know, I think they will ask for it lah. Okay, so I'm not so sure that will really work, to be honest. It's transparent. Buyers are also human beings. They will try to get a good deal from it, right? It's up to the agents want to give. On the site, there are so many ways to do this. Just don't get caught, right? Buyers, especially if you get caught, there is really a risk for your side too. Number one, all these monies are paid to the agent. They can don't pay you back. And even if you want to threaten them to report them, guess what? You will also be put to task because you are the one that asked for it, right? Because it's illegal on both sides. All right. It's the same as now if you have more than 8 visitors into your house, all right, and you're being caught, all right, not your visitors are also penalized, owners are also penalized, and I think you're penalized more because you are the one that hosts them. All right. So both sides will be penalized. All right. So I think this the objective of regulating or making transparent the agent's commission is good, right? But I felt that the second part here, uh, it will not help. Okay, this is just me. Okay, now the last part. Okay, you guys have any questions? What I said, I can see that there's some of you watching, right? Thank you for a like. Oh yeah, if you can just give a quick like, it'd be very encouraging also, right? If not, if you have any comments, like I said, comment and I can reply now. If not, then I'll reply you offline. Yeah. This is what I feel will help a lot. Okay. Because if you've seen my last live session, we are really having a supply issue, right? January sales has been very good for new launches because we launched 2 big projects. One was the Momentum Park, and the other one was the Reef. And the Reef, right, if you know, is a very good price at the time, okay, for the 1 bedrooms especially. And it has sold out a lot, and therefore it actually contributed to to a big number of sale in January, all right? But it does not mean that the market is going on a bull run. The whole reason why it sold well was because at this point in time, developers are still price sensitive. They didn't sell at a very big price, all right? Therefore, it's very affordable, and then I think buyers would know they actually got a good deal, especially for the Reef, right? So if any one of you have gotten the Reef at Keppel, I know some of you with me, we didn't get manage to get it because it's being sold out at the last minute. Too bad for us, right? But there's another opportunity coming soon. I think we can always discuss further, right? To me, if all they did was just to increase this, okay, at least by another three times, 10,000 units this year, it would at least keep the unsold volume at least still hovering around 25,000. I think that's a healthy mark, right? 30, 40,000 is a bit a lot, right? But if anything drops to 16,000, um, yeah, I think it's going to be a challenge. I think, yes, prices will continue to hit upwards. So I don't know how they're going to manage it, right? So this is where they cut, da, 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 right? And all right, so this is what will happen if they do not. I think if you're following up the news and you're subscribed to the Straits Times, right, or the Business Times, you've already seen. I think almost every other week there's an article about some collaboration they bought over. I think the latest one will be the one at Juchet Road there, right? Two buildings, right, are actually up for sale and they can be converted as a service apartment or converted to residential properties, right? So we are seeing the early stages of on block, not in the vast manner yet, all right, but it could happen third to fourth quarter of this year if there is no change in terms of the GLS. All right. Well, so this is just my input. I hope it gives you something to think about. Okay. All right. And if there's no other questions, I'll sign off and get ready to go to Nomenta Park already. Right. Okay. So and then all right. Well, that's it. Okay. I'll be signing off now. Take care and good luck.